Hey guys, welcome back. Today I have for you two new chunk loader designs. First up, we have an item-based chunk loader. Basically what happens is that item gets dispensed in this spot over here, gets pulled by this piston, and gets pushed by the slime block over a piece of ice into the portal. So I have a hopper clock that feeds this powered rail here, that powers these three droppers and then a dispenser to put the item there. And then I just have a second observer and a repeater and 2 ticks to make sure that the bottom dropper is never full. This observer detects when the dispenser is fired and then just powers this line over here to retract this piston, and then powers these repeaters over here to power this piston, which then pushes the slime block. On the return portal side, I just have an edge detector over here. This time I have the observer laid out slightly different, so I have one observer here to power these two droppers, and then two redstone ticks later I power with the same three, so two droppers and then the dispenser again, and just to return the item back. Of course, I designed it so that you could actually create a chunk loading grid quite easily. So you just replace the clock system with a line of rails, and then just have one overall clock over here, and return stations are exactly the same. So over here I have a layer by layer build of both the sender and return, the sender being above and the return being below. Let's take a look. I have my Shulker-box based chunk loader. The footprint is slightly larger, but the response time is much faster. So basically what happens is that I pre-place a Shulker-box over here, and when I receive a clock signal, a slime block will push the Shulker-box, converting it into an item and pushes it into the nether portal. So again, I have a hopper clock, which powers this node block, and then gives a 2 redstone tick pulse to this piston over here. At the same time, it powers this lamp, so that these droppers over here get powered twice, so that items don't flood the bottom dropper. And at the same time, powers this dispenser to place the Shulker-box. Over here, I just have another chest to measure when this dropper is empty, and when this dropper is empty, it's just gonna unload some Shulker-boxes into this dropper. The reason why I have this is because during a crash, Shulker-boxes could be potentially lost, so you would probably want a few Shulker-boxes over here. In about a week of testing on the Momentumn SMP, I've not lost a single Shulker-box, so I think it's pretty reliable. So this is the return station. So it's pretty simple. I just have two hoppers over here feeding into a dropper, and whether the Shulker-box lands in either the left or right hopper, it's going to power a comparator, which almost instantly powers this piston, which sends the Shulker-box back into the nether side. So I just have the same layout of droppers and dispensers powered by this node block, and because this node block is turned on and turned off, this observer gets powered twice. Again, as usual, these chunk loaders can be built into a chunk loading grid. So again, you just remove the hopper clock, and you just have a rail line powering these two observers and a repeater and 3 ticks, so that this observer over here gets powered twice, just again to make sure that this dropper doesn't flood. Over here I have the layer by layer build of both the sender and return. Same thing, where the sender is above, return is below. Let's take a look. The reason why I have two separate chunk loader designs is that originally I only had one, which was the item based one. And the reason why I created an item based chunk loader is because minecarts can get stuck on rails during a crash. But if this chunk loader crashes or the server crashes, the items could potentially get stuck anywhere and just despawn. So if it gets stuck over here or in front of the slime, doesn't matter because it'll just go into the hopper in the nether side. But if the item lands somewhere inside a portal or gets shot out or whatever unusual scenarios occur, doesn't matter because the item will just despawn, so the chunk loader won't break. The problem is that the items take too long to get aligned, so you can't use this type of chunk loader for any sort of signal transmission. And that's where I had the idea to use Shulker-boxes as a chunk loader. So the thing about it is, with a minecart based chunk loader, you don't have to align your minecarts, but you do have to worry about crashes. With an item based chunk loader, you have to worry about alignment, but you don't have to worry about crashes. But with a Shulker-box based chunk loader, you don't have to worry about either of them, because what happens is that when you have a Shulker-box being placed by a dispenser, you have aligned the Shulker-box. So now the thing about it is that you can use a slime block to launch the Shulker-box, and there's only a select few places that the Shulker-box can go. So if you look over here, I have enclosed the entire portal side over here. So when sending the Shulker-box into the return station, and when the return station sends the Shulker-box back into the sending station, the Shulker-box will eventually end up in the hoppers down here. So this is why I created the Shulker-box chunk loader. The only downside is that you need, if you don't have stacking Shulker-boxes, you have to have a lot of Shulker-boxes over here in case you ever lose or start running out of Shulker-boxes. Alright guys, that's it for today. If you have enjoyed this video, please leave a like, comments, and subscribe. Hit the bell icon to be notified. And last but not least, stay zen. Bye.